Russia is now blaming Europe for the war it started. Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has called Europe the main obstacle to peace, accusing the European Union of preparing for war with Russia. Speaking to Russia's state news agency TASS, Lavrov claimed that after the change of administration in the United States, Europe and the EU have taken the lead in blocking peace efforts. He alleged that the EU is openly planning for confrontation with Russia and criticized European moves to transfer frozen Russian assets held in Belgium to support Ukraine. Lavrov's comments come as Moscow continues to insist it wants peace while placing responsibility for the war everywhere except on itself. While Russian dictator Putin has issued what is effectively an ultimatum to Ukraine, saying the war will continue unless Kyiv accepts Russia's conditions. Speaking at a military command post, Putin claimed Ukraine is not rushing to resolve the conflict by peaceful means and warned that if Kyiv refuses, Moscow will achieve its goals by force. He repeated the Kremlin narrative that Russia's war is going according to plan, despite heavy losses and growing economic pressure at home. At the same time, Moscow continues to talk about peace talks, a move analysts describe as an attempt to shift blame onto Ukraine while using violence as leverage. After the latest Russian strike on Ukrainian cities, there is no real sign that the Kremlin is preparing to stop the war. Putin's message is simple: accept his terms or the killing continues. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump have met in Florida as part of ongoing efforts to end the war in Ukraine. The talks took place in the Miami area following days of intense Russian attacks on Ukraine's capital. According to Zelensky, those strikes show that Moscow is not seeking peace. During the meeting, the two leaders discussed an updated US-mediated peace plan, security guarantees for Ukraine, and the future framework for ending nearly 4 years of Russia's war. The talks are part of a broader diplomatic process aimed at de-escalation and long-term security, though key issues, including territorial questions and guarantees, remain unresolved. Ukrainian officials say consultation with the United States will continue in the coming days as negotiations move forward. Canada has announced new economic support for Ukraine, pledging an additional $2.5 billion as Russia continues heavy attacks on Ukrainian cities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in Halifax before he visited the United States. At a joint news conference, Carney said that the new funding would help Ukraine unlock further financing from international institutions, including the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Carney stressed that Canada remains committed to a just and lasting peace, adding that the latest Russian missile and drone attack on Kyiv shows why continued support for Ukraine is critical. Canada has been one of Ukraine's most consistent partners since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. To date, Ottawa has provided more than $13 billion in total assistance, including military aid, macro-financial support, humanitarian assistance, sanctions enforcement, and training for Ukrainian troops. The announcement comes just one day after a major Russian missile and drone strike on Kyiv killed at least one person and wounded dozens more. Zelensky said the attack was Russia's response to ongoing peace efforts and warned that diplomacy without pressure and strong support would not stop Moscow's aggression.
Russia launched more than 500 drones and dozens of missiles. And I think thanks for air defense of our part, that's not enough. And this attack is again Russia's answer on our peace efforts, and it's really showed that Putin doesn't want peace, and we want peace, and he's the man of war, but he's afraid to speak about publicly. But we see these steps, and what we need to stop this war anyway, and we need two things: pressure on Russia and sufficient strong support for Ukraine. We'll speak about it. We will speak about air defense, and it's really last weeks we had good steps in diplomacy, but we can't live in illusion that it gives us possibility to have less air defense. With Russia it doesn't work. So thank you very much, Mark, for this meeting. We will have bilateral, and as you said, we will join our European friends, and tomorrow I will have I hope very important and very constructive meeting with President Trump.
Belarus is becoming more than just Russia's ally. It's turning into a launchpad for Putin's future wars. That is the assessment of analysts at the Institute for the Study of War, who say Russia is continuing to expand its military infrastructure in Belarus to support attacks on Ukraine and potentially prepare for future conflicts with NATO. According to analysts, Moscow is using Belarusian territory to launch drone attacks on western Ukraine, especially targeting railway infrastructure critical for logistics and military transport. Ukrainian president recently said Russian forces are sending drones from the Belarusian direction to bypass Ukraine's air defenses, a tactic that has led to a sharp increase in Shahed drone attacks in western regions. On December 26, Russian drones hit a railway station in Kovel in Ukraine's Volyn region, just 64 kilometers from the Belarusian border, damaging trains and repair facilities. Another attack targeted a freight train near Korosteny in the Zhytomyr region, close to the same border, derailing both freight and passenger cars. Experts believe some of these strikes may have been guided in real time, possibly by operators located inside Belarus, using drones with the live video links and advanced navigation systems. The Institute for the Study of War says this confirms a broader pattern. Russia has effectively turned Belarus into a military staging ground, not only during the full-scale invasion in 2022, but also for ongoing and future operations. Analysts warn that Moscow is likely to keep strengthening its military presence in Belarus, both to sustain the war against Ukraine and to create conditions for potential future pressure or even military action against NATO countries. Ukrainian forces have made significant gains on the Eastern Front, pushing Russian troops back in key areas of the Kharkiv and Donetsk regions. According to the analyst from the Institute for the Study of War, Ukrainian troops have liberated most of the city of Kupiansk. Geolocated footage from the late December shows Ukrainian forces advancing along major roads in central Kupiansk and securing much of the city's railway hub, a key logistic point for the entire Eastern Front. Ukrainian troops are continuing clearing operations in the northern district. Institute for the Study of War says this battlefield successes directly contradict Kremlin claims of steady Russian advances. Russian military bloggers have begun openly criticizing Russia's defense ministry, accusing it of lying about the situation on the ground. Analysts believe Moscow is now trying to hide its failure in Kupiansk to avoid weakening its position in ongoing peace talks with the United States. Further south, Ukrainian forces are also holding their ground near Pokrovsk. Ukraine's air assault forces reported that Russian attempts to break through north of the railway line in Pokrovsk have failed. Ukrainian troops continue to control the northern part of the city, while Russian attacks in the western outskirts are being blocked. The situation remains difficult in nearby Mirnograd, where Ukrainian airborne and marine units are reinforcing defenses to counter pressure from multiple directions. Military officials say Russian forces are also carrying out propaganda-style actions aimed mainly at a domestic audience. Overall, Ukrainian battlefield progress in Kupiansk and the successful defense near Pokrovsk are undermining Russia's narrative of inevitable victory at a time when Moscow is trying to strengthen its position in diplomatic talks. Ukraine's once remarkable rail network, which carries most of the country's freight, people, military supplies and food exports, has become a key target of Russia's war strategy, according to the Wall Street Journal. In 2025 alone, more than 1,100 Russian attacks have hit Ukraine's rail infrastructure, nearly as many as in 2023 and 2024 combined. Trains, depot, control centers, bridges and power substations have all been targeted. The damage so far is estimated at around $5.8 billion. Analysts say Russia is focusing on railways to weaken Ukraine's economy, slow the movement of troops and weapons, and disrupt exports through Black Sea ports. Despite constant attacks, Ukraine's state rail company continues to operate. Crews repair tracks quickly, install anti-drone systems, and use buses when rail lines are temporarily down. In many cases, services resume within hours or days. Railway workers, many injured, mobilized, or displaced, have become symbols of resilience. Key hubs like Lozova, repeatedly hit by drones and missiles, continue to function. Ukrainian officials say the rail network remains a strategic lifeline. As long as trains keep moving, they argue Ukraine's economy, civilian life and military logistics can endure, even under fire. Poland is getting ready not for war but for drones. Warsaw has started building a multi-layered anti-drone defense system along its eastern border, responding to repeated violations of Polish airspace by Russian drones earlier this year. Poland's Deputy Defense Minister Cezary Tomczyk told The Guardian that the first elements of the system could be operational within 6 months, while the full network is expected to be completed within 2 years. The new system will be integrated into Poland's existing border defenses and will include several layers of protection, from machine guns and cannons to missiles and electronic jamming systems designed to disable drones. Some of these tools, Tomczyk said, would only be used in extreme situations or during wartime, as they are difficult to operate in peacetime conditions. Poland also plans to build logistics centers in every border municipality, storing equipment that can be deployed with hours if the situation escalates. According to Tomczyk, as long as Ukraine continues to fight and defend itself, Europe is not facing a traditional war, but rather provocations, sabotage and hybrid threats. He warned, however, that if the West allows Russia to win in Ukraine, the Kremlin's attention could quickly turn toward Europe. That's all for now. For more content, please subscribe.